That's Dude.
That's Dude.
Welcome to Lazy
Boys Night. Whoop, whoop.
Now, usually you're thinking, why aren't you pouring your beer yet? Because today we're introducing a new segment, and it's called the Lazyboys Salute. But we're not doing this salute.
No, we're going to change that up.
This is how we salute.
See? Salute.
Salute. Oh.
Are you going over?
Almost.
Yeah.
Now, before we talk about what we're saluting, let's talk about what we're saluting with. Where does this beer come from, Dude?
This is from Calabogie Brewery.
Bad hit on my part.
Well, that's
Calabogie Brewery. It's called Flipside Lager, and you gotta flip it to read it. Interesting. Clever.
Calabogie. I love this. Look at how clear that is.
That is a good looking color. I got a bit too much hair, but that's because...
There's sex tape.
There you go.
And so we start again.
Cheers, Dude.
Cheers.
It's just two guys talking. There they go again, saying anything. Talking about nothing. Nothing new to say. Talking anyway. So much to review. So let's have a cold brew. A cold brew. Everybody's talking. It's not anything. No one's listening. Talking about nothing. They're all yammering. I can't hear a thing. Nothing I can do. So let's have one more brew. One more brew.
All right.
Okay, let's try this out. Oh,
You know, some lagers are like, meh, generic. This is a lager with taste.
that is awesome. That's so crisp.
It is nice and crisp and
Wow.
well done. It's a New
Wow.
Zealand hopped lager. Don't know if that means the hops are from New Zealand. Possibly.
Possibly.
If so, I want to drink beer in New Zealand. Hey, we talked about
Oh, we
New
talked
Zealand.
about New
I
Zealand.
know.
That was our super trip, would be in New Zealand.
Oh.
So can we put down if that's an actual hop from New Zealand, or if
I
it's
don't know.
just a
I'm
type
gonna
of beer?
research that. We're gonna
We'll find out.
get our production assistants to research
Dude,
that.
you got to put something. Yeah, dude,
Yep.
look it up.
There you go. Anyways,
Oh, that's nice.
well
Okay.
done, Calabogie Brewery.
Very well done.
Very well
I'm
done.
super
Very happy.
satisfied.
And by the way, where did you get those?
We are actually getting gifts. We had some once last year, and this is their first one of 2022. We received this from a fan that just sent us this beers, and it's. I'm not sure of the connection, but I know it's from Calabogie Brewing through this fan
So
that talked about the show.
Let's say unofficially sponsored by.
Unofficially sponsored by Calabogie. So when Calabogie heard about Lazy Boys Night, and they offered this nice crisp beer. And I'm not just saying crisp over and over because I'm trying to sell it. It's just, it is nice. It's a really nice beer.
It's a
So
good
what are we
scenario.
saluting?
What are we saluting?
Before, because I could go like a whole episode on this beer.
So, it's been 2 weeks today.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about.
The world lost an incredible cultural icon by the name of Betty White. Betty?
Cheers, Betty.
Now, this salute is actually going to be a little broader than Betty, but we're starting with Betty because Betty, let's face it, Betty was
Betty.
Betty was Betty, and there's no
For
other
how
words for
long
Betty.
was Betty? Betty
And-
was...
Even though it's been 2 weeks, I know the world still feels the pain, and what would have been her 100th birthday is coming up in just a few days.
Yeah.
In fact, People magazine had already released the issue celebrating her 100th birthday. It came out a couple days before she passed.
Wow.
And there was this big party plan. I'm hoping they still do the
I
party.
actually have chills talking about it.
I'm hoping they still do the party.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
But Betty was a horrible loss and a terrible way to end 2021. But I think at the same time is 2021 was a bad year for a lot of people, so let's end on a bad note and start 2022 on a good one. But that led to realize that we lost a lot of great people in 2021, and we'll get to them in just a moment. But for now, I want to talk about Betty.
Talk about Betty.
Betty has I believe owns the Guinness World Record for the longest television career in history.
Is that true?
You know, she started way back in the 40s. And
when it was live TV.
It was live
It was
TV.
live TV, a bit like what we're doing now, but even liver because it was live.
Liver.
This is taped live, but it's not posted live.
Yeah.
But she would be on live TV.
And not only
broadcast.
that, she
Studio
would
to home.
She would be on for hours a day, every day, live. Most of this stuff was unscripted and improvised because they just didn't have the budget at this little local affiliate station she was in. And she just practiced her comedy skills. She sharpened them like nobody else had. I mean, there's a reason her career so long-lived. She was one funny lady.
If you get a chance, I'm sure on YouTube there's some older footage, but I know there was a special too. Well, dude, if you can look it up, put down what the special is. I know there is one. We'll look it up. But they show the earlier clips when she first started off, and not only was she a natural talent and unbelievably funny, she was super sweet. She's always been that, like, she played a lot on that sweet side, but that little edgy, she'd always bring that little edge to it that made it even funnier.
Well, the edge you really saw in the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
That's when it started off.
That's when the edge, because before that she was sweet. But in real life, she was such a sweetheart. One of her early shows, I think it was called Life with Elizabeth, or was it actually the first incarnation of the Betty White Show? She had 3 different shows called the Betty White Show.
Imagine.
I think it might have been the Betty White Show, one of the incarnations. This was, I don't know the year. I'm sorry. We really need to research this ahead of time.
We don't need to rehearse. We need to research after the fact.
There was this gentleman. Great singer, great dancer. I forget his name. Dude's going to look it up for us and post it right here. He was a black performer. And
So this was back when the 50s, I guess?
Something like the 50s, yeah. I think it's the
50s.
50s.
Okay.
Possibly the 60s, but probably the 50s. Very talented man. She featured him on her show regularly. And a lot of the southern affiliates, and by southern I mean the southern states, started to voice complaints because this black man was getting too much airtime. Her response was, deal with it, and she increased that man's airtime.
Nice.
She had him even longer and longer on the show.
Yeah.
She didn't care about the affiliates. She cared about the dignity of an individual. And here was a talented man she wanted to showcase. And she thought it was so stupid that people would segregate according to race. She... Love you, Betty White. And back in the day, today might seem like ridiculous. Well, I don't understand. Back in the day, people were way more racist than they are now. And they're still very racist now, especially in certain parts of the world. But to have a black man on air back then, that much, was offensive to some people. Not offensive in a true sense, just offensive because they were racist. And Betty didn't give a damn. She said, deal with it and move on. And I think that's just such a testament to how great this lady was.
I remember the first time that I started being a fan. That's the best way I'll say it.
Yes.
Is I remember seeing reruns of Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Okay.
And when she goes into the office and Betty White's character, I would watch the show quite literally for her. That little banter, those little, it was unreal. And as it moved on, as soon as I found out later on in life, when she started with the Golden Girls, I was already in. And then I found out who else was in the show. And I'm going, are you kidding me? They're going to make a show around all these women. But just the fact that I knew that Betty White was going to be in the show, regardless of what it would have been, I would have watched it. And I was like, I've always, like, from that moment on, as soon as I saw her on air, I was a huge fan, and throughout everything she's done, I've been a huge fan.
When I was a kid, I knew of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Excuse me. But we lived in the country, it didn't have cable, just a few there were no reruns. I'd never seen the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So my first introduction to Betty White was really with the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Rose Island.
Yeah.
And anytime she'd have a story about St. Olaf, I would lose it. She was just... I love them all. I think all 4 women were brilliant. This is one of those shows where perfect cast, perfect chemistry, although apparently in real life her and B. Arthur didn't get along that well. Nonetheless, they were both consummate professionals, and they sold the love on screen. That's how talented they were. But yeah, my introduction to Betty White was Rose Island, and I was like, I gotta learn more about this woman. But I remember the first time she shocked me, she had a small part in a film called Lake Placid. Did you ever see Lake Placid?
Oh,
It's a movie about. It's a movie about somebody who released an alligator.
Yeah.
a pet
Oh my
alligator.
God. Yes,
Yeah.
I have seen
And
it.
the thing grew. And the thing is, that Betty White's in there, and I'm expecting Rose. I'm expecting sweet little old lady, because she got older by then. And she's just this badass bitch with a shotgun.
So,
oh my
go
God.
see it, or just go see clips, because now that you're talking about it, I remember, and I was in shock, but I laughed so much.
Because you're like, this is America's
And
grandma.
the movie is not supposed to be that. I get it's funny-ish because it's almost like it's the perfect B movie, but it's awesome. That scene is fantastic. I'm super happy you brought that back.
Betty White, we salute you.
Betty,
now
we miss you already, but thanks for being in our lives, all of our lives.
Actually,
so that's awesome.
To quote what so many people posted online, thank you for being a friend.
Yeah. So, oh man, give me
I know. I'm feeling a little bit glad.
This is super emotional.
But Betty was the cherry on top of all the great people we've lost in 2021.
Well, you know, because since we're talking about this, somebody that I miss tremendously.
I know who you're going with.
Norm Macdonald.
Norm, we salute you as well.
Norm Macdonald, if some of you are not aware of who he is, just look up Norm Macdonald.
How do you not know who Norm Macdonald is?
It's possible. But you have to realize that what we're doing now, we're influenced by many different comedic actors, and we were talking about the whole Betty White and the fact that she was live all the time and how she goes with the flow. Norm was kind of like that, where not the episodes. What I remember the most about Norm Macdonald is when he would go on David Letterman. Do yourself a favor, just go look on YouTube, and this I know for a fact. I think there's a whole bunch. There's one that's just back-to-back clips when he's on David
Was it
Letterman.
on Letterman where he did the moth joke?
He did. Every time he would go, and Norm had this amazing talent of taking a non-subject and bringing you through this storyline of he would build up a joke without a punchline.
Oh, and when
nobody else can do that. How can you build up a joke and you're laughing through the whole time, and then you get at the punchline, and it's even funnier. There's no punchline.
Yeah. But Norm, first, he's special to us as well because Norm is from our hometown.
Yeah.
Norm got his comedic debut in Ottawa at the local Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
And what made Norm great as a comedian, he was fearless.
Oh,
and not only he was
care.
fearless.
Oh my God,
He didn't care, but not only was he fearless, he would dare to do things that nobody else would. And I think it was the roast of Bob Saget.
Yes.
The roast of Bob
It was
Saget.
the roast
If you've
of
ever
Bob
seen
Saget.
any of the Comedy Central roasts,
That's very difficult to find, by the way.
Are they hard to find now?
Well, his specific,
his is hard
Norm's specific roast to Bob Saget, it's a classic, and I don't know why you can't
And
see
the
it
reason
anymore.
it's a classic is because most roasts, people offend you, they insult you. There's a lot of jabbing, and so what does Norm do? He goes up and he tells like the lamest vanilla dad jokes you could ever find. It's like the anti-roast. He's not flattering him, but he's just telling such lame humor. It was so funny because it's not about the joke. It's about the delivery and about subverting expectations, which Norm was the master of.
From what I understand is that Norm did not want to do the roast because he didn't want to roast Bob Saget. He's a close personal friend. And Bob said, just do it.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't want to roast you. Just be on the show. I want you to be on the show. And the reason why they're so close is because Bob Saget was actually the director on Norm's first movie, Dirty Work.
Dirty Works. Oh, you got to see that
Dirty
movie.
Work is I love it. Anyways,
it's one of our favorites.
It's one of our favorite movies. If we had to, have you seen?
It's in here, right?
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, it's in there somewhere. But the fact that nobody knew at that point that Bob Saget had directed the movie, but they got so close, and Bob Saget got Norm's humor.
Yeah.
And just let him ride with that humor and just emphasize that humor. So when it came time for the roast, Norm just said, you know what, I'm just going to be nice. So I'm just going to tell nice things about, but he turned it, anyways,
It's hilarious.
A classic.
If you can find the clip, but
it's unbelievably funny just because it's a non-roast during
now just other highlights of Norm's career. Norm was, I think, one of the longest running anchors on Saturday Night Live News.
Yeah, that's where most people
Yeah.
were introduced to Norm Macdonald on Saturday
He
Night
was
Live.
also a great voice actor for kids' cartoons. I think one of the most recent ones is he's in the Skylander series.
Oh, he's in the Mike Tyson
He's in the
mystery.
He's in a
with
bunch
the
of
bottom.
stuff.
Mike Tyson's mystery something on Netflix. Check it out. He's the voice of the pigeon.
Okay,
And that dry humor.
what I like
that's
too
him.
is he was friends with a lot of the gang of the SNL gang, Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider, and so forth. And he'd occasionally just
still
have
touring with them just before he passed away.
He'd
like
have
last year.
cameos in their movies sometimes just to. Do you ever see? This is not a great movie by any means, but Deuce Bigelow, the second one, European Gigolo.
Yeah.
When he plays this Scottish man, he horror was it no, he talks about his he talks about. Anyways, it's just, you see the clip and it's absolutely ridiculous, and that's the only time you see him in the movie. But this was Norm.
Yeah.
Pops in there.
He's been non-stop.
Subverts expectations.
He's had so many TV shows and so many talk shows, and oh my god, he, for whatever reason, other comedians were attracted, pulled into him.
I can see why.
It's almost like how Chris Farley was the comedian's comedian kind of thing, where his whole point in life for Chris Farley was to make other comedians laugh, try to make them break up. If you go see old SNL shows, you'll see that his only goal was to make other comedians laugh. Well, Norm Macdonald, the way he delivered, other comics would look at him going, there's no way he's doing this right now.
Yeah.
How is he getting away with this? We would never, every single comic would tell you, I would not be able to deliver it the way he's done it. And the build-up, like I say, just go watch, again, with David Letterman. It's the best way to take Norm Macdonald, his entirety, that sharing, and he was a huge fan of David Letterman. He loved him, and it was an honor for him to be on the show.
If you can find the moth joke, I think that'll sum it up right there. Anyway,
so,
to Betty White, to Norm
was
Macdonald, we salute you. And also to all these other fallen greats.
We'll run. Please stand after our credits. Stick around. We're
Actually,
gonna run.
Let's run them now while we have a drink.
Okay. Cheers. Check this out. So, to all of you, thank you for entertaining us. That's what we're here. We're here for that too. We just want to entertain you and entertain ourselves. And one thing that I've learned from both Betty White and Norm Macdonald is if you're having fun and you're enjoying it, other people will enjoy it with you. So cheers.
I don't know why I'm reminded of my favorite quote from Betty White. Just this.
Is that your second favorite quote?
No.
Go ahead.
Betty White would say, what's the secret to her long life? And, she says, get 8 hours of beauty sleep, 9 if you're ugly.
Oh, nice. Have a good night. Cheers.